Welcome to What's My Personality Type? In this video, we'll learn about another aspect of personality theory called temperament. Temperament refers to your core needs that drive your behavior. Within the 16 Myers-Briggs personality types, there are 4 temperaments: the guardian, the artisan, the rational, and the idealist. This video will focus on the strengths and blind spots of the rational. Rationals are those people whose second letter of their MBTI type is N for intuition and whose third letter is T for thinking. So the types that fit the rational category are INTJ, INTP, ENTJ, and ENTP. Now, while these types can look very different from each other, they all have some common core needs. The rational's core needs are for mastery, challenges, logic, and competence. They like to analyze the systems and concepts objectively in order to develop a deep understanding and even expertise in those areas. All rationals have certain strengths, although they may look a bit different according to the individual. But for the most part, rationals tend to be innovative visionaries who can see possibilities, trends, and the big picture. They're often high achievers who are confident, strategic, and intellectual. Because they value competence so much, they have high standards for others and in themselves. They are always willing to take on new challenges, especially ones that don't have an established procedure. As independent thinkers, they prefer to improve existing systems in their own way, or even develop new systems, rather than follow others. And they tend to be very confident in their own ideas, because they've thought everything through so thoroughly and logically. And finally, because rationals just want to come up with the one best solution to the problem at hand, they don't tend to take constructive criticism personally, as long as it's coming from someone they trust and respect. And when they give criticism, it's rarely meant personally. They are usually logical and objective to a fault. However, all rationals can have some blind spots as well. Because of their intellectualism and ability to see patterns and the big picture so readily, they can sometimes communicate in a way that's too complex for others to understand. In addition, their independent mindedness and desire to create their own solutions can cause them to be overly skeptical sometimes, challenging rules and authority in a way that might offend bosses, coworkers, and even friends and family. And because rationals use an impersonal logic to form their ideas and opinions, they can sometimes come across as blunt or arrogant because they're so confident that they're right. This tendency can make it difficult for them to see how their words affect others, which can sometimes cause unintended hurt feelings. Now, not all rationals will exhibit these behaviors, but they may be more likely than other types to have this mindset. So it's important to be aware of tendencies that may alienate others, especially in organizations or households with a diversity of opinions, where teamwork is important, and when the feelings of others need to be taken into consideration. So, if you're a rational and find that you have some of these blind spots, you can grow and develop your type by being willing to generously listen to others, even when you think they might be wrong. You may find that they do have some good ideas, and working together, you can develop those ideas into something that will work. If you are open to them, other types will come to rely on your thorough analysis and vision without fearing criticism. So, what are some ways you can build on your remarkable strengths as a rational to overcome some of your blind spots? Here are some activities you can try to help yourself communicate and work better with other types. First, especially if you're part of a team, learn to actively listen to others and resist the urge to immediately vocalize the flaws that you see in their argument. Try to empathize with their viewpoint and ask open-ended questions to show that you're interested in what they have to say. You may be surprised what you can learn when you're willing to consider issues from other perspectives and recognize that sometimes the collective wisdom of the group is greater than any one person's analysis. Second, when faced with a problem, you will probably make a decision based on what is the most logical way forward. Your first questions will probably be strategic. Why is this happening? What will be the cause and effect of each option? What will be the impact on the future? And that's a perfectly legitimate and rational thought process, which will help you to narrow down to possible solutions. But don't forget to factor in how those solutions will affect the people involved. The people part may not initially seem to be relevant to you, But if you pause to think about the likely personal impacts, you may see that it really does make logical sense to consider the effect on others' feelings as it relates to morale and buy-in to your ideas. So even if it doesn't seem logical at first, emotions really should be an important part of your decision-making process. And finally, remember to praise others whenever you can. Because competence is so important to you, you probably know whether you've done a good job or not, and you don't need to be told by others. And so you may believe that if you don't say anything negative, others can assume that you think they're doing okay. However, many other types really do need to hear that you approve of their performance, even for doing things that you consider as part of their day-to-day job. Especially if you're their boss or parent or partner, they need to see that you recognize their effort. If they only hear from you when something goes wrong or when you find a flaw, then they may begin to feel demoralized. So even if you have to write a reminder as a part of your to-do list, make an effort each week to find something that you can praise. If you do, you will probably discover that their motivation and your relationship will improve. I hope you found this information on the rational temperament helpful. If you want more videos on personality type, subscribe to our channel below. And thanks for watching.